The San Bernardino terror attack has already had a big impact on campaign 2016. Democrats are pushing for stronger gun regulations. Republicans are blaming the president and saying they'd be tougher on terrorism. No one more so than Donald Trump, who we met up with in Raleigh on Friday. There are links between ISIS and this terror attack in San Bernardino, but there were no red flags. So how do you stop this from happening again?
Well, I think there are red flags, and a lot of people knew what was going on in that house or that apartment, and people were not wanting to call because they thought it would be inappropriate to call.
Inappropriate why?
Well, they were saying that it was, that they would have been profiling, and a person said, we sort of knew what was going on, but we don't want to profile. Can you believe this?
Should there be profiling?
Well, I think there can be profiling. I mean,
How would that work?
if they thought there was something wrong with that group and they saw what was happening and they didn't want to call the police because they didn't want to be profiling, I think that's pretty bad. People are dead. A lot of people are dead right now. So everybody wants to be politically correct, and that's part of the problem that we have with our country.
Have people been too politically correct with Muslims in America?
I think so, and with maybe other things too, but I think certainly so. And as you know, I came out with, I want vigilance, I want real vigilance, and whether it's mosques or whatever it has to be. But a lot of bad things are happening.
Whatever it has to be, does that include, where are you on the question of tracking Muslims in America?
Well, look, we are having a problem with the radicals in the Muslim group. Let's not kid ourselves. And you can say it, or you don't have to say it, and maybe you won't even want to, but I've been saying it loud and strong. So if you have people coming out of mosques with hatred and with death in their eyes and on their minds, we're going to have to do something, John. We can't just say we're not going to look at it. Now, I made that statement a number of weeks ago. It took a lot of people were not exactly thrilled with it, and now everybody seems to agree with me.
But this idea of tracking Muslims in America, that's the thing. Where are you on that?
You have people that have to be tracked. If they're Muslims, they're Muslims. But you have people that have to be tracked. And we better be, I use the word vigilance. We have to show vigilance. We have to have it. And if we don't, we're foolish people. You know, we're being led by people that don't know what's happening. When you have President Obama talking about global warming is our biggest problem, we have a president that is just not with it at all.
There are 3 million Muslims in America.
Right.
What should they feel about their place in American life now?
Look, we are having a tremendous problem with radical Islamic terrorism. I mean, where you can say it or you don't have to say it. And we have a president that won't issue the term. He won't talk about it. So we're having this tremendous radical Islamic terrorism. Okay? A lot of people don't want to even say it. Not a lot of people. We have one person that I really know of, and it's called President Obama. Until he admits that this is a problem, we're never going to solve the problem. But he's only going to be there, fortunately, a little bit more than a year, because the problem will get solved when he gets the hell out.
You mentioned political correctness about Muslims. What the criticism of you is that you are playing on fears that people have.
No,
and
I'm
you're
playing
stoking.
on common sense. No, I'm not playing on fears. I don't want to play on fears. I understand the whole world, and I understand. And I have Muslim friends who are great people. And by the way, they tell me there's a big problem. I'm not playing on fears. I'm playing on common sense. We have a problem. The World Trade Center came down. And by the way, speaking of coming down, they put their families on airplanes a couple of days before, sent them back to Saudi Arabia for the most part. Those wives knew exactly what was going to happen. And those wives went home to watch their husbands knock down the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and wherever the third plane was going, except we had some very, very brave passengers wherever that third plane was going. Those wives knew exactly what was happening.
Yeah, you mentioned the families, going after the families. What does that mean? How
Well,
would
I would
that work?
go after, well, at least I would certainly go after the wives who absolutely knew what was happening. And I guess your definition of what I do, I'm going to leave that to your imagination. But I will tell you, I would be very tough on families because the families know what's happening. Even in this last instance, I see everybody knew. So many people knew. They thought that this man and this woman, you know, whether he was radicalized or how he became, they thought something was going on. Why don't these people report it to the police? Why wouldn't they report it to the police? Now, they said it was profiling. They didn't want to profile. Can you believe this? They didn't want to profile, even though they thought something very bad was going on.
His sister said she didn't know what was going on. She was crestfallen for the victims here.
I probably don't believe the sister.
You don't believe the sister. So you'd go after her?
I would go after a lot of people, and I'd find out whether or not they knew. I'd be able to find out. Because I don't believe the sister.
And do you worry about creating more terrorists?
No, we have to stop terrorists. And the only way you're going to stop them, in my opinion, is that way. You know, they say they don't mind dying. I think they do mind dying. But I can tell you this, they want their families left alone. We have to stop terrorism.
You don't think there's a worry, a tension, if you go too far, that you end up creating more terrorists?
What's too far? What's too far? They're killing people. Whether it's what we just saw in California or in Paris, they're killing people, innocent people, people without guns. You look at Paris, no guns, nothing. And you look at California, no guns. I can tell you one thing, if I'm in there and I had a gun, we're going down shooting. We're going to knock them out, okay, one way or the other. And if a couple of guns are in that room, you talk about Second Amendment, which I'm a big believer in the Second Amendment. In Paris, they had no guns. In California, they had no guns. Only the bad guys had the guns. So they were like sitting ducks, every one of them.
Should the good guys get guns?
Well, I mean, the good
Should
guys.
people carry?
If they want to, they should be able to, because it's going to be a lot safer. Look at what's going on. We're going into these gun-free areas. How about the school a few months ago? Gun-free school, gun-free area. And you look at what happened, it was a disgrace. If people had guns, how about the soldiers that were killed? 6 soldiers killed, champion marksmen on a military base. They're not allowed to carry their guns. And a whack job walks in and kills them. Not right. So I am a believer in the Second Amendment. And you know, the bottom line is the bad guys are always going to have the guns. We better do something about it. Paris is one of the toughest cities in the world for guns, right? You can't get them. And you had carnage.
Why do you think people join ISIS in the United States?
Well, I think for one reason, they're using the internet a lot better than we do. And they're brainwashing these kids. I mean, the word is brainwashing. They are brainwashing young, impressionable people, largely young. Probably they're doing it with older people also.
How do you fight that?
You fight it with intelligence. You fight it by beating them at their own game. You fight it by not saying mastermind, like you did, like other people did. I see the word mastermind, the mastermind. I called him the guy with the dirty hat, the guy with the dirty, filthy hat. They called him a mastermind. And these kids are watching the mastermind. They say, oh, I want to be a mastermind. The press is really hurting it. I will say that. I was very strong on that last week and 2 weeks ago with the Paris knockout. And I think the press is making it, they're glamorizing these people. These people are animals. These people are not masterminds. They're not even smart people. I bet you they have very low IQs. I mean, they're not smart people. And the press is making them into something. They're making them into Robin Hood. And young people and other people are following. We have to stop their internet work. They're doing better at we came up with the internet, but they're using it better than we do.
In terms of stopping them, at the moment, if you're on the no-fly list, you can buy a firearm. Does that need to be fixed?
Well, I'd certainly take a look at it. I would. I'm very strong into the whole thing with Second Amendment. But if you can't fly, and if you've got some really bad, I would certainly look at that very hard.
Would you also look into the shooters in this case amassed a great amount of ammunition?
Right.
They had multiple weapons. Should that, in this new world, bring people under suspicion if they're developing that kind of a
certainly
cache?
People could look at it. They should. When the people next door and when other people are saying there's something strange going on there, that's not people going hunting for deer. Okay, what was happening in there? Because they had bombs, they had all sorts of pipe bombs, they had a lot of things. And certainly you can take a look at what's going on. Again, the word vigilance. Yeah. We have to be looking at a lot of different things, but we can't do anything to hurt the Second Amendment. People need their weapons to protect themselves. And you see that now more than ever before.